Okay, guys, is everyone comfortable? We're not going to be too long, but just make sure you're comfortable. There's some more chairs on the side there. We can squeeze in here. We can grab a box or two if we need it. Okay, cool, guys. Thank you very much for making the time to be here. Welcome to the start of our GritGrind challenge. I think most of us have met Jamie, she's basically our dietitian here at the gym. If you've done your meal plan or your weigh in, you've obviously met her. She's obviously going to give us some insight into the nutrition side around and along this challenge. Okay, so before we start, there's a couple things that I just want to mention with regards to what this challenge is all about. Okay, so the first thing we need to kind of realize is that this is a lifestyle challenge. It's not necessarily a challenge where we're going to go through starvation and deprivation and see how much weight we can lose in the next 5 weeks. We want to kind of create good habits. We want to empower you guys with knowledge and tools so that when the challenge is complete, we've got that knowledge, we've developed some good habits that we can consistently utilize in our life going forward. Losing weight is a very good byproduct of the challenge, if you stick to it. So there will be some benefits around that, but the most important thing, it's going to be more important to lose, for example, 3 kilos over the next 5 weeks, and then 5 weeks after that another 3, and then 5 weeks after that another 3, versus losing 6 kilos now, and then as soon as we're done with the challenge, we slide back into old habits and we pick up all our weight again, just to give you guys a practical example. Okay, so that's the focus. We're basically going to go through some daily tasks, some weekly tasks. There is a little bit of deprivation in some of these tasks. And the reason behind that is, again, we're not condoning that you should never ever eat sugar or never drink alcohol. The reason behind that is we want to kind of get ourselves into the mindset of, I can do this, develop the knowledge and realize the benefits of, if you had to cut out or cut down certain things, the benefit that is going to play into your life, into your training, into your body composition. And then once the challenge is over, you then have the power to say, okay, cool, well, I cut out sugar for 5 weeks. I know the benefit or how I felt. I know the benefits that it had. And you guys can then decide, if you're going to continue doing that, or if you're going to just moderate your intake, or you guys will then obviously have that flexibility. Okay, the goal here is moderation and consistency. Okay, so that's what we want to focus on over the next 5 weeks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through our daily tasks, our weekly tasks. Again, it's not just a case of, guys, do this. It's a case of, let's do this. And I'm going to explain to you why we're doing it specifically. And then the weekly tasks. And then I've got some bonus tasks which add no real sort of accountability towards finishing the challenge specifically. This is what we want to focus on. But if you really want to hit the next 5 weeks hard, there is some bonus stuff that also could potentially offer some benefit if you want. Okay, but this top section, that's what we want to focus on. And the first thing is no sugar. Okay, obviously for obvious reasons, consuming sugar or consuming excess sugar is unnecessary calories often, and we want to try and avoid that by the positive benefits that can be associated with reducing the calories and reducing our sugar intake over the next 5 weeks. This is a tough one. Jamie's going to chat to us today about sort of tips on how to combat sugar cravings specifically. And as I mentioned before, we're not condoning that we should never eat sugar. We all want to live our life and have some balance in our lives, but we will experience some positive benefits with regards to cutting down or cutting out sugar over the next 5 weeks. Okay, no alcohol, another challenging one for a lot of us. Again, we're not condoning that we do this consistently throughout the rest of our life, but let's challenge ourselves over the next 5 weeks and see if we can cut alcohol completely out of our diets. Every time you drink alcohol, it's empty calories. You're drinking calories that's offering no benefit towards your performance or your daily life. It's far more important to rather moderate and eat food that's going to give us something in return. Okay, we also know if you have a heavy night of drinking, you tend to eat a little bit more. The next day you wake up hungover, you tend to eat a little bit more, you tend to move less, and all of these things, you eat worse things, you want greasy food. All of these things play a role in decreasing our metabolic rate, in the fact that we're not moving more. We're lazy the next day, we skip training. There's a lot of negative side effects associated with that. Okay, so we're going to challenge that for the next 5 weeks. The next one is drinking 3 liters of water on a daily basis. Okay, this is a challenging one for a lot of people. Luckily, we're going into summer now. It's going to be a little bit easier. 3 liters of water. Again, healthy skin, healthy muscles, just flushing out the body. Often when you're hungry as well, or when you feel hungry, if you drink some water, your body can not always distinguish whether you're hungry or thirsty. So you drink water and you feel okay. So sometimes if we have that feeling, we tend to eat or snack. Drink some water. That's going to in turn reduce our total calorie intake throughout the day. Okay, this is a challenging one. I'm going to talk about planning and all of that just now, but this is one that we really need to make sure we plan well. You don't want to be 20 minutes before going to bed and have to down 3 liters of water. It's going to be a horrible night. Okay, then the next one is 35 minutes of movement. So now, the focus here, I've specifically used the word movement and not exercise. What we're trying to achieve over the next 5 weeks is to improve our daily habits and our lifestyle in the sense of just being more active and moving more. Okay, so that doesn't mean I have to come to the gym for 7 days a week and train for 35 minutes. Okay, movement means on a Sunday I can wake up, I'm a little bit tired, I've trained 6 days this week, I can go for a walk. I can take my kids for a walk, I can sit in front of the TV and I can stretch as long as I'm actively doing something that's helping and benefiting me physically. Okay, so it's very specific there with regards to the certain tasks that we need to do so that that task does not become so overwhelming, and make sure that we plan that accordingly. If you're only at the gym 3 days a week, you don't all of a sudden have to upgrade your membership to unlimited. On the alternate days, you can, as I said, go for a walk, go for a run, or do something else that's going to benefit you. Okay, those are essentially, in a nutshell, our daily tasks. A new addition to the challenge, just quickly going back on movement, that we haven't done, for all the guys that have done this in the past, we're introducing something new where we're going to have a weekly physical challenge. So each week I'm going to present you with a physical challenge, and that's going to basically just help encourage you to move. It's obviously a movement challenge, and that will then count as part of your 35 minutes. Okay, so we'll get into the details of that when I present the first week's challenge. Okay, then every week we are required to take a progress picture. Okay, there's a couple of reasons around this. A lot of the time we get very fixated on our weight in relation to the scale. That's essentially our weight in relation to gravity. That's very unimportant to most people in life. Unless you're competing in a sport where body weight is important, who cares how much you weigh? It doesn't really matter. What we're after is how we look and how we feel, right? So we all want to go away in December, we want to look good in our bathing suits. That's the focus, and that's a far more accurate measure. We know when I'm training or when I train, my scale weight fluctuates. One of our resources coming up next week is why our weight fluctuates, and it can become very demoralizing when you're weighing yourself, especially when you're doing it very frequently and you're not making gains on the scale. And then you're like, this isn't working, let me try something else, or why is this not working? So the more accurate measure is going to be taking a progress picture, which after a week you may not see a big difference, after 2 weeks you may not see a big difference, week 3, week 4, week 5 you'll start to see some changes, and that's the motivation that we're looking for. Okay, another great one, which is no requirement on the challenge, is obviously just the way that your clothes fit. Okay, use that. The scale can still be used as a tool, but it shouldn't be the tool by which you measure your performance. Okay, how much you weigh doesn't really matter. All right, the next one is basically an upgrade video. We're going into this challenge with a set amount of knowledge on all of these areas. We want to essentially upgrade our knowledge, so each week we're going to present you with a resource, myself and Jamie, and basically it will be a requirement to just read over that resource. Again, it's for you, so making sure that we understand and we can now take a practical resource and implement it into our lives. Okay, as I said, the goal for the challenge is by the end of the 5 weeks, we're well equipped. Technically, we should not have to do another challenge like this ever, unless we feel like we want a little boost or something like that, just because we've got the knowledge and we can be in control going forward ourselves. Okay, and then the physical challenge. As I said, this is a new addition. So the physical challenge is just going to be something fairly simple that can be done at the gym, at home. I've structured it in such a way that it's not going to be too physical in the sense of, leading you to exhaustion or anything like that. It's just small little things that we're going to implement to just promote movement and encourage you guys to get a little bit more active. Okay, I'll let you guys know at the end what the week 1 will be, and you'll get a better understanding. Okay, and that's obviously on top of our training that we would do on a general basis. Okay, then our bonus tasks. As I said, Guys, this challenge is essentially for you. There's a lot of us doing the challenge. I'm not going to be present in your daily life. Jamie's not going to be present in your daily life. We can't necessarily hold you accountable for, you only drank 2 liters of water today. So this is purely for you. You need to hold yourself accountable. And I can guarantee you, I'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but if you follow these tasks, you're going to experience positive results. And that's where the bonus challenges come in. These are essentially a little bit of additional benefits that, again, if you feel like hitting the next 5 weeks hard and you want to add some value to your life, there's a lot of research around doing things like this that could potentially help us, especially when it comes to developing discipline and a bit of mental fortitude. Okay, we know that living a lifestyle like this on paper might look easy, but practically it's not that easy. So we want to make sure that we're making or improving our daily life and our daily habits, so that by the time we get through it, it does become more of a habit and it gets a little bit easier for us. Okay, so the first one is reading 10 pages of a book a day, a non-fiction book, so not a story book, basically a book that on any topic that you find interesting. And this is obviously around just doing something that you don't ordinarily feel like doing, developing that discipline. A lot of the time we have a rough day, we get home from work, first thing we want to do is lie on the couch, put the TV on, watch some Netflix. Now we've got to implement that discipline into our life of saying, wait a minute, I've got to read my 10 pages. It's something we don't necessarily want to do. Okay, so that's optional. The next one is a clean kitchen. So basically, cleaning up your kitchen before you go to bed. Okay, so before you sleep, make sure your dishes are done, the kitchen's left in a presentable order. It's going to put you in a better mood when you wake up the next morning. And again, it's probably the last thing you feel like doing before you go to bed, but time and time again of doing this will help instill that discipline. Okay, making your bed, another one. Basically, making your bed would be, as you get out of bed, you make your bed. That's your first task that you've accomplished within that day. If you can accomplish your first task, you can accomplish your next task. And we're going to increase our productivity by doing something as simple as making our bed. Okay. And then the last one is the early riser challenge, which is going to basically be waking up 35 minutes earlier than you usually would. Okay, and in that 35 minutes you can be nice and productive. You can read your 10 pages, or you can just get up and early bird catches the worm. Just do something that you wouldn't ordinarily do to set yourself up for success in the day. Okay, again, these are optional. These are the ones that we're really going to hone in and focus on over the next 5 weeks. If you want to add these in, you're welcome to do so. Okay.
What is early?
35 minutes earlier than what you would normally wake up. If you normally wake up, so if you normally wake up at 6, set your alarm for 5:30, 25 past 5. Okay.
Even on Sundays.
Wake up at 4 o'clock, 35 minutes before that. Guys, if you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, this is probably not something that you need to develop. Okay, you're fine. Another thing around this, challenge yourself. One of the things that's related to this is when we wake up, let's say I need to wake up at 7 o'clock. What do we often do? We only get out of bed at 7:30. So you could even say to yourself, okay, I already wake up at 4:30, so I'm not really going to implement this challenge, but I'm going to challenge myself when my alarm goes off, I'm going to get up, versus hitting my snooze button 10 times. That could be your challenge. Okay, that might be 30 minutes earlier for some of us anyway. Okay, all right. Just a couple of things that I want to touch on with regards to how we're going to approach this challenge and things to know. As I mentioned before, this is for you. Okay, this is for you. You need to hold yourself accountable. I can guarantee you we've seen this. This is the 4th edition of the challenge. We've seen some really great testimonies and some great results from the challenge. If you incorporate this stuff and you hit it hard and you do it properly, you will experience good results. Okay, average effort is going to equal average results. You could even potentially get through this challenge and experience no results. But I guarantee if you do what we task you to do, you will experience positive results. If you're sitting there and you're already thinking, I've got a birthday party next weekend, I'm going to eat some cupcakes, maybe the next day I'll be okay. This is 5 weeks. 5 weeks where we want to just take it upon ourselves, hold ourselves accountable, and let's make sure that we can stick to this as best as we can. You don't have to, I'm not going to know any different, but we can't then necessarily raise questions when the challenge is complete. Okay. The focus needs to be around not only doing these tasks, but we need to focus on scheduling, committing, and then prioritizing. Prioritizing meaning prioritizing ourselves for the next 5 weeks. Scheduling becomes very important because this might seem very easy on paper. Maybe some of us are probably doing a lot of this every day already, but practically all of a sudden when you're forced to, it becomes a little bit more challenging. We don't necessarily, we do it, we say to ourselves, I do that all the time. We don't necessarily account for those days where we have a late meeting or we're stuck in traffic for an extra hour. So scheduling becomes really important. If you know you're going to be at the office till later than usual and there's a chance of you hitting traffic, make sure you know and you've scheduled your day beforehand so that nothing's going to get in your way. Okay, so you basically start your session or you wake up, do your 35 minutes of movement, get it out the way. Guys who have done this challenge before, especially as I mentioned around the water intake, if you leave your water till halfway in the day or from 4 o'clock you only start drinking your 3 liters, you're going to be getting up out of bed to go to the loo every 30 minutes. Okay, so you want to get that in early and make sure you can consistently get it done throughout the day. Okay, and then again, just making sure that we commit to the process. Okay, this is going to require discipline. If doing something like this was easy and we could just approach it in a relaxed fashion, every single person here would have their goals that they want, their physical goals, their mental goals. It would be easy. Okay, it does require a change and a little bit of discipline that we incorporate into our lives. Okay, accountability, again, I've spoken about this already, but just make sure you're holding yourself accountable. Maybe even to some extent, you're holding other people accountable. We're sitting here, a community of people that we know. Nothing wrong with walking in and asking, Joan, did you drink your water? Did you train? Hold each other accountable as well. That helps us stay on track and make sure we can maintain and sustain this. Okay, planning ahead and then creating support. One thing that I would highly recommend is if you're doing this challenge and you're in a household and you're the only one in the household doing the challenge, let everyone else in the household either join you or let them know about it. Let them know what it consists of and the reasons why you're doing it. Okay, if they're going to buy it and they're going to get on board, even if it means just to support you, they don't have to cut out sugar, but don't eat a slab of chocolate in front of me if you know that it's going to tempt me. Okay, so just kind of help create that support system so that we're taking any potential roadblocks out of the way as we walk through the next 5 weeks. Okay, this is something I really want to quickly just touch on, and it's such an important point that we're going to hone in over the next 5 weeks. Often we've all been there, we've got like an all or nothing mindset where we decide, okay, this is it now, I want to lose weight or I want to achieve a certain goal, and we've got that all or nothing mindset. If we want to run a 21k run, we don't wake up the next morning and run 21Ks and we do that every single day until we hit our 21K run. We need to make sure that we're striving for progress, but not perfection. Okay, we want to make sure that, think of it in the mindset of every single day we want to try and do something that makes us 1% better. By the end of the 35 days, we're 35% better than we were the day before. Okay, the first thing to think about is making sure that we have the knowledge, and that's why we're doing the challenge. That's why we're going to kind of deprive ourselves a little bit in certain aspects of our life in the next 5 weeks, so we can gain the knowledge. We're increasing the size of our toolbox so that after 5 weeks, we can take this and run with it. Then we need to apply it. Okay, we have to make sure that we apply what we learn and what we know. But the most important thing is consistency. And I've been running the gym for close on 10 years, so I can vouch for this. People are not consistent, and so what ends up happening is we fall off the bus, we blame the program, we blame the fad diet, or we move to a fad diet, it doesn't work, so we move to something else. We're not going to get results. I'm in a gym today, I'm not going to see a difference. I'm in a gym tomorrow, I'm not going to see a difference. Next day, I'm not going to see a difference. It's cumulative effort over a long period of time, and that's consistency. It's far better to do, let's take training for example. The program is irrelevant. The programming can help, but an average program is better than no program that we don't, or a program, the best program in the world that we're not consistent with. If that makes sense. So that's what we want to focus on doing. Consistent beats good intentions, it beats luck, and it even beats quality. Some guys will come in and they'll be like, meal timing, I have to hit my protein shake 45 minutes after I've trained. Hitting your protein targets is more important than when you ingest your protein. Eating your meal or your calorie intake for the day is better than eating at the same time every day, or making sure your macronutrients are perfect and your micronutrients are perfect. let's strive for making sure that we improve these things and expect that it's not going to be perfect. Okay, 1% better every day, and that's what we want to focus on. Once we're consistent, so hopefully after 5 weeks, then we can start thinking about things that will kind of, set us apart a little bit more. But for now, we focus on the basics, build our foundation, build the pyramid from the bottom, and once we can harness that, then we focus on the nitty-gritty. Okay. Jamie's going to have a chat to us now. We're going to talk about a few interesting topics, obviously around the diet aspect of things, which is quite important in helping us over the next 5 weeks. Okay.
Alright, hi everyone. Okay, so some of you, like I said, may have seen me already. Those of you who haven't, if you do still want to make an appointment just to do a weigh-in or even a meal plan, then please just let me know afterwards, and then I can take your name down and we can organize. Alright, so firstly, the first thing that I wanted to speak to you guys about is caloric intake. Okay, so that is obviously like the basis of weight loss or weight gain if that's your goal. So at the end of the day, we basically have our calorie maintenance, okay? If we are eating less than that, we're going to lose weight. If we're eating more than that over a period of time, obviously, we are going to gain weight, okay? So that's really as simple as it is. It's obviously a bit more complicated when we put it into practice, but that is the basis of how it works, okay? So calorie maintenance, how do we calculate that? How do you know what yours is? So basically we need to find out something called your basal metabolic rate, okay? So your BMR, that is the amount of energy that you will burn at rest, okay? If you just had to do nothing the whole day, that is the amount of energy you would burn. Those of you that have done an in-body, you will see on the in-body analysis on the side, they do give you your basal metabolic rate, okay? So that is the amount at rest. During the day, that obviously increases, even if it's a rest day, even if you're not exercising, that increases above that value, okay? Even if you're just cooking, walking, working, sitting at your desk, even thinking burns energy, okay? So it increases much above that. Once you get that, then that will essentially be the amount of calories you burn in a day, so that will be your maintenance basically, okay? So how we calculate it is we take that BMR from the in-body and we multiply it by an activity factor. So depending on how active you are, that will then give us an estimation. It is an estimation, we can't always be exact, but it will give us an estimation of your maintenance calories, okay? If you haven't done an in-body, there are calculations that you can do. If you Google, there are a few that you will find, and you can just put in, it usually asks for your weight, your height, one or two other factors, obviously male and female, because we burn different energy. So then you can do that online and calculate that, but just please remember those calculations are usually just your basal metabolic rate. So please take into account your activity. Some of them will ask for your activity, then you can put it in. Otherwise, you do need to Google the activity factors, or you can come to me and ask me, but you do need to then multiply that to get your calories, okay? So that basal metabolic rate is not what you are burning at the end of the day, okay? It's basically what you would do if you had to just do no movement throughout the day, okay? So that will then basically give you your maintenance calories. If your goal is fat loss or weight loss, we then minus about 500 to 1,000 calories from that. That then gives you sort of the amount that you need to eat during the day in order to lose weight. And the same thing for like muscle gain or weight gain, we'll then add on 500 to 1,000 calories to that value, and then that'll obviously cause the weight gain over time. Okay, so that's basically how the calories works. What else? Okay, one thing to remember is that when we are trying to lose weight, it does happen that we can lose muscle as well, because I know a lot of people, the goal isn't always just weight loss, but it's also just fat loss, okay? So we can tend to lose muscle. That's why we try to compensate that by eating high protein, okay? So I will get into the macronutrients next, but that does happen, and it's the same thing with if we're trying to build muscle, okay? We can tend to pick up weight with that, pick up fat with that. So it is sometimes we can definitely get it right where we build muscle and lose fat at the same time, but it is really tricky. So we often have to do the one and then the other. Okay, so that's obviously why we get people that go through the building phase, cutting phase, because it just works a lot better to build muscle while you are in a calorie surplus and to lose fat while you are in a calorie deficit. To to try be in a calorie deficit and build muscle, it does get a little bit complicated, and you can definitely do it. It might just take a longer time, and it might just take a lot of effort and just work. Okay. All right. Okay. Macronutrients next. Okay, so obviously, like I said, calorie intake is really the basis of weight loss or weight gain. But if we are trying to really make the most of our body composition, we then need to focus on actually looking at our macronutrients, okay? So obviously we all know the importance of protein. We need to make sure that we are eating enough protein during the day, okay? Protein is important if we are trying to build muscle, because obviously protein is one of the main, components of our muscle. If we aren't eating enough, we aren't going to be able to build the muscle that we are trying to. Same thing with weight loss. It's also really important when we are trying to lose weight, we need to make sure we're eating enough protein. Otherwise, when we are losing fat, so will our muscle, okay? And that really isn't the goal ever, to lose muscle. So we need to just make sure in general our protein is high enough, okay? All right, so that's protein. And then carbs, the other thing. Please don't be scared of carbs, guys. They are not the enemy. We really do need them for our metabolism, for energy-wise, especially now over the next 35 days. If you're going to be increasing your exercise, please make sure you are eating enough carbs, especially before a workout as well. Have a banana, have your fruit, have a glass of fruit juice, whatever you can get in, just to make sure you've got that energy, okay? Carbs, if we do cut them out, we can lose weight, but it's really not a lifestyle. I think that's also what this challenge is about. It's just making sure that we can do this over a longer period of time, okay? So we don't want to cut them out. We really do need them for our energy levels, for our metabolism, for our health. There is a reason that they exist, okay? And then obviously fats. So I won't really talk too much about fats, but also please don't cut them out. They are healthy. Just try go for the healthier ones, okay? So try go for your olive oils, avocado, nuts, seeds, those kinds of things, and try reduce the butter and takeaways and all those kinds of saturated fats. All right. Okay, hidden calories. So that's the next thing that sort of Matt also wanted me to speak about. So often when I see people, when I see clients and we're trying to get them to lose weight and they just don't know what's going on, it's usually our hidden calories, okay? So those can be the things like if we're drinking like more than 5 cups of coffee a day and we're having sugar and full cream milk in them, we don't realize because it's not actually food, so we think we're eating really healthy, but it's adding up throughout the day and we're increasing our fats, we're increasing our calories. That could be one of the reasons. It could be our drinks, if we're having Coke or any sugary drinks during the day. It could be alcohol on weekends. That, although you're fine during the week, if you're drinking over the weekends, that can also add up, because we did speak about that just adds alcohol, well, it adds empty calories. So it's sugar and calories, but it's not actually giving us any benefit, so we don't actually think about it. So it could be that. It could be our cooking methods. That's a big one that I see. We can be eating our vegetables and the healthy foods that we need to be, but if we're frying it in lots of butter or oil, then we're not realizing how much that actually adds on. Even if we are just frying it with canola oil. Canola oil is a healthier one than, say, butter, but it's still, fats are very calorie dense, so we do need to be careful. Our fat, 1 gram of fat has a lot more calories than 1 gram of carbs and 1 gram of protein, okay? So we can be using a teaspoon, that's perfect, but the minute we are just throwing, we don't realize how much we're adding, and it can really add on to our calories at the end of the day. So try where possible, use your air fryer, grill your food, steam your vegetables, whatever you can do just to avoid adding those extra unnecessary fats. Okay, and then also another thing, sauces and salad dressing and those kinds of things are also always very calorie dense, especially in terms of fats and the unhealthier fats that we're trying to avoid. So there are so many healthier alternatives out there that we don't actually know exist. So just Google, if you love a certain kind of sauce, just Google it. You will probably find that there is a lower fat or a healthier version of it that you can find, and then it just helps reduce some of those calories that we are getting through those sources, okay? If possible, try to use lemon juice or balsamic vinegar or those kinds of things that are really, even mustard is a good one to use. Tomato sauce isn't too bad in terms of fat, can be a little bit higher in sugar, but try to just use those ones that we know that aren't like fat based, like our mayos and all those ones that are higher in fat. Okay. Alright, so I think that is it for the hidden calorie section. So just try over the next few days, think about and be a little bit more aware when you are cooking or when you're eating throughout the day of things that could be adding extra unnecessary calories or fat or whatever it is to the to your daily calories, so that we can just try and eliminate that or sort of reduce it where possible. Okay. Then tips on eating out. Okay, so this is a big one, and I do try and go around this with clients as well, because at the end of the day we don't want to pack our lunch if we're going for lunch with a friend, or we don't want to sit there and just have our Coke, but we also don't want to go the other way and just overdo it. So we do need to find a balance. You can still go out, you can still eat out for a dinner, for a lunch. We just need to be a little bit more health conscious about things we order. So one of the first things that we can do is to, if we're going out for dinner, we can eat a lighter lunch, or if we're going out for lunch, we can eat a lighter dinner. Okay, please don't skip meals. If you know you're going for dinner, don't say, okay, I'm not going to eat lunch just to save calories, because what happens is we're just going to get so hungry by the time we go for dinner, and then we want to start a main dessert, or we just want a pizza and we eat the whole thing, whereas usually we would only have half. Okay, so try to just rather eat something smaller, but don't cut it out completely. Okay, if also try and have a snack before you go. It just prevents us from being a little bit, prevents us from being so hungry that we then just overeat. Okay. All right. Another thing that you can do is to just Google the menu before you go, just so that you have a little bit of an idea about what is available there. Also, when we are very hungry at a restaurant, then we tend to just order like the most unhealthiest meal or the biggest meal that there is. So if you just Google beforehand, you can kind of plan in your head what you're going to have, and then when you get there, you can order that, and you're not tempted by all the food that is leaving the restaurant or what other people are eating and that kind of thing. You can just stick to what you decided on beforehand. Okay. Then also a few other tips: ask for your dressing on the side. That just also reduces so much calories because they tend to drown things in sauces. And then you can still add it, but you are just then obviously going to add a little bit less than just pour it all on like they would. Especially when it comes to seafood, like your lemon butter and garlic butter or whatever it is, they do tend to cook or add so much to that, and it really is unnecessary. So just try to ask for it on the side. They always will put it on the side for you, and then you can just monitor how much you are adding. Okay. Alright, order extra veggies or salads. So for example, if you're having a steak or chicken or whatever it is, there are always options about what your sides are. So try to either go with your vegetables or your salad. And then you can also just, if you're having a pizza for example, have half the pizza and then order a side of veggies. You can have the pizza later on and also have another side of veggies with it, but try to rather do that than have the whole pizza, rather just to take out or eliminate some of the calories of it. You can just have a little bit of extra nutrients from the vegetables or the salad, and it just cuts down a little bit on the unhealthy sort of fats from like a pizza for example. Alright, so try to just eat slowly as well and chew thoroughly. So think about what you're eating, don't just overdo it completely or eat too quickly and then all of a sudden the whole thing is gone and then you're actually so overfull. So just try to eat a little bit slower. Also drink a little bit of water before you eat. Like Matt said, sometimes we are just thirsty and our body thinks that we are hungry and then we're actually eating and then we just overeat. So trying to just drink some water beforehand will also make a difference. Okay, so I think that is it on the tips on eating out. Okay, if anyone has any questions, then you are more than welcome to come ask me afterwards. Okay, and then the last topic that I wanted to speak to you guys about is sugar cravings and also sugar intake, okay? So I get this a lot about how do I prevent my sugar cravings, or how do I prevent eating like 3 slabs of chocolate in the evening, okay? So it is difficult to control and everyone reacts differently to sugar. Some people don't even have a sweet tooth at all. But really at the end of the day, the sugar cravings is either a habit. So if we just take a few days to get out of that habit, then we'll be fine for like the rest of the month or the rest of the week or whatever. It really is almost like a drug. Sugar really is. So if you just go through those few days where it's really hard, you will start to get used to it. Okay, the other thing is that it's usually indicating that we are missing something in our diet, or we are not eating too regularly. If we're usually skipping meals, or if we're not eating regularly throughout the day, our blood sugar levels tend to drop. When they drop, that's when we get very hungry and we overeat, or we crave sugar, or we feel like we need a chocolate. So just make sure that you're having your regular meals throughout the day and your regular snacks, and then you might find that you just aren't craving that sugar anymore because you are keeping your blood sugar levels sort of within line of what they should be. Okay, so that's another tip you can do. Another thing is to just look for healthier alternatives, or your sugar-free alternatives. There are so many out there that we don't even realize. Every day I find a different drink or a different something that's got a sugar-free alternative now. So obviously go for your Coke Zero, your Sprite Zero if you feel like a fizzy drink, or if you're craving something sweet. Just be careful of the like the sugar-free chocolates. I think the Candy Roll one is fine, but there are a lot of sugar-free options out there that, because they're taking the sugar out, they need to add like sort of flavor somewhere else, and the fat is quite high in some of them. So just be aware of those. But in terms of drinks, all of the sugar ones are healthy, and the amount of sweetener, I know there are a lot of people that are maybe a little bit worried about sweetener. The amount of sweetener that they put in like a Coke that you're going to have during the day is really not dangerous to our health. If we are having it in excess amounts, which none of us would ever, then it can be unhealthy. But at the moment, the amount that we have definitely will be fine. Okay, so you can try and find those. There's a Powerade Zero out there. There's Steri Stumpy Light that's got no sugar. So there's really so many out there that we can really use. So just try look for those ones. And then in terms of like coffee and tea, try to obviously replace your sugar in your coffee. Either reduce it if you're okay with that, or obviously cut it out for this challenge because we're not allowed sugar. But if you really want and you need that sweetness, you can just use sweetener and it will basically give you the same effect. You get the drops that I know some people like, but otherwise just the normal tablets or the normal sachets are even fine to use. Okay, and then just for this challenge, I think Matt also wanted me to clarify that for the sugar, any food that has less than 5 grams of sugar per serving is classified as okay. So you guys can have that. You can have the Coke Zeros and the artificial sweetened beverages, and then any foods, for example, I think we said that the grenade bars have less than 5 grams of fat, so that's okay. So just look on the labels at the sugar amount and how much that is. If it's less than 5, then it's fine. Dark chocolate, you're gonna have to look. Maybe if you go like the 90% dark, that's basically cardboard, then you can have that one. Okay. It's difficult, I know. But like I said, it is a habit, and you might find the first week is torture and no one can speak to you because you're so on edge, but from the next weeks onwards, you will definitely start to feel a bit better. Alright, okay, thanks everyone. So then last thing is, if you still want a weigh-in or anything like that, you can come speak to me afterwards, and then we'll try set up a date. It will probably be next week, so when the challenge already started, but I mean, it's still better than nothing. And then I do also have space for meal plans. I won't be able to see you in person for the meal plans, but we do have a link that we can send out that asks all the questions that we would in a normal consultation, and then it gets emailed directly to us, and then we can do the meal plan online for you. So you can just come speak to me, and then I can email that to you guys. All right, thanks guys, and good luck with the challenge.
Okay guys, there's just one more thing I wanted to touch on. It was appropriate to touch on it after Jamie spoke to us about our basal metabolic rate, increasing our metabolism, the calories that we burn in any given day, because a lot of us have the mindset of, I want to burn more calories, so I must go exercise, which is true to some extent. I'm going to do more cardio. I'm burning calories while I'm doing cardio, but not really after. Okay, we want to we burn far more calories throughout the day than we would during 45 minutes of exercise. Okay, when it comes to strength training, basically strength training is a little bit different in the way that it works. We're lifting weights, especially for the ladies. We lift weights, there's basically a calorie burning effect for once I've completed the exercise as well. That's why we always condone weight training for ladies. You're not going to get big and bulky. That doesn't happen by accident. The goal is just to kind of increase muscle mass slightly, and you can burn calories or continue burning calories at a higher rate for up to 24 hours once you've completed exercise. I'm not saying don't do cardio and don't run, especially if that's something you love and enjoy. But there's a lot of benefits associated with weight training. The reason men burn more calories than ladies as well is the simple fact that they're generally bigger, they have more muscle, and they're slightly heavier. It requires a lot more energy for me to move around than a lady who weighs 40 kilos to move around. So I'm going to be burning more calories than she will. That's just how it is. Okay, so for the ladies who are a little bit against, lifting weights and that kind of thing, I don't want to get big, I just want to get toned. There's no such thing as getting toned. I'll bust that myth quickly. There's no such thing as getting toned. Being toned is basically, it's having muscle. When it's relaxed, it's looks like it's not flexed, but it's kind of contracting slightly in the absence of fat. So being toned means you've got muscle and you have less fat. That's what toned is. So ladies who want to get toned but they don't want to lift weights, it's not going to be achievable. Okay, just so that you guys are aware of that. We're going to kind of, throughout the challenge, those resources, we're going to give you guys information. This was an outline, a brief. As I said, we're striving for progress, not perfection. So we can't overload you with everything now, tell you exactly, how many calories you should be eating or around certain aspects. Each week, we're increasing our knowledge span. Each week. So at the end of 5 weeks, we feel well equipped. Okay. So first things first, our challenge for week number 1. Obviously, the challenge starts on Monday. Challenge for week number 1 to encourage us to move more. We need to complete 35,000 steps. 35,000 steps is 5,000 a day. 5,000 a day for a lot of us is not much at all. Every single person, you might not have a watch, but every single person has a cell phone. You can download a free step tracker on your cell phone, have your cell phone in your pocket. It kind of gets you in the mindset of being intentional about moving more. A lot of the time we look at our steps at the end of the day, oh, I've got 10,000 steps. Now we're actually aiming for making sure that we get 5,000 steps, and we might realize how little we actually move on a daily basis. Okay, so if you need ways to get your steps in, if you sit at an office all day, every 30 minutes stand up, take a little walk. If you're going to the shop, park your furthest parking away from the entrance. When you come to the gym, park away from the entrance, have your phone in your pocket. And that's how we're going to intentionally accumulate 5,000 steps. It shouldn't be much, okay? Yeah. This one isn't really going to play into the 35 minutes of movement. You'll see some of the challenges going forward will play into that when we've got like physical tasks that we need to do. That'll play into the 35 minutes. This is on top of that. You can't count your starting at the shop, parking far away, walking to the entrance. That's not going to count towards your 35 minutes of movement. Okay, it needs to be intentional. All right. Guys, we have printed out little sheets like this. You can take a little magnet, you can stick this on your fridge. There's a very important sort of psychological reasoning behind actually physically having to tick something off versus just knowing what I need to complete within the day. Okay, it works better for some than others, but we've got one for everybody. So basically, it's got your tasks and then it's got your days. Once you've completed a day, you tick it off. When you complete your weekly challenge, your 3 challenges that you need to complete each week, you can tick off the 8th block at the end, and obviously we're going to make our way through this list. Okay, stick it on a magnet on the fridge so that it's there and it's intentional. Okay, the last thing, we obviously have some GritGrind shirts. If you guys, we've got a shirt order list here. We're going to give 15% off for if you place an order now. If you order later on in the challenge, the shirts are going to be 250 Rand. And we've also going to be talking within the resources in and around the week about supplementation. So supplementation does kind of fall into the thing of, I don't necessarily say you should take supplements unless you can get the basics right, but there is a lot of benefits like whey protein, for example. If I'm struggling to hit my macronutrients, I'm not hitting my protein targets because I can't consume that much food per day, or I've missed a meal or something like that, a shake is a really great way to get or to hit your targets and just get a quick little bit of 20 grams of protein in. So we're also going to be giving, everybody here will get 10% off through SSA supplements throughout the duration of the challenge. Obviously, as we go into the resources, we'll talk a little bit more into detail as to what we recommend you should be taking if you want to take it, if you feel like you do have a grasp on some of the more basic stuff. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, let's good luck for the next 5 weeks. Let's make this count. Okay, thanks, guys. Does anyone have any questions? That's something I should ask. Make sure everything's ironed out, you know what to expect, so that on Monday we can start. No Zoom. Okay, so guys, if you've done the challenge before, we're not doing our weekly Zoom chat. I'm going to be posting a pre-recorded video on the group every Sunday. Okay, all right.
Now I know why the ladies look better than you in the wedding.
Predicts me,